Hey everybody, it's Justin from Bittner Built, and I already filmed this sponsored video for this. This machine was provided to me for a sponsored video. I filmed it already. But in the 2 weeks that I've been using this is amazing, and I needed to throw it all away and start again to talk to you right now to say, yes, this is a sponsored video. But I, Justin, am saying I am so amazed with this as a beginner. I have very little experience with 3D printers. I am horrible. I cannot make anything in 3D CAD design or whatever. It's over me for some reason. I'm not good at it. This is as close as you're going to get to download free file. There's millions of them out there. Put in software and then click print button and it makes it. It magically appears. And I've made so much cool stuff for this Woodshop in the past 2 weeks. Flexible hose adapters, stuff for my bandsaw, French cleat holders, organizers, Milwaukee Packout wall cleats, Milwaukee Packout inserts that organize all your tools. This was just a usual sponsored video, but I'm a believer. Like, this is sweet and they're not paying me to say that. So let's get into it. I want to show you the Ankermake M5C. It's a, sub $400 printer that is awesome for the beginner. Let's do it. It's really simple. I'm going to do 3 steps and we're going to make something. So step 1, we have to find a file that we want to print. We're going to go into Google. I'm typing 3D printer file. And then what do we want to make? Let's make something for Milwaukee Packout. Hit enter. And hey, we have all these websites that are repositories for free 3D print files. So Yagi, Cults, Thingiverse, there's tons of them. And each one of these sites has tons of different files. So let's go to Yagi. And when we go there, look, it is just thing after thing after thing that you can print for Milwaukee Packout. Here's battery holders, all sorts of stuff. And look at how many pages there are full of these things. Cup holders and level holders and multi-purpose bit holders and whatnot. So let's kind of break it down more, and I want to make a Milwaukee Packout feet or foot. Okay. So to attach Milwaukee Packout feet with latch. Cool. So here it is. It makes this file. So I just hit download. And I'll download all the files. So it has a foot and a latch one. And there it is. It's in my downloads folder. So after we find the file that we download, we open up Ankermake's software. We click slicer and we open the file that we just downloaded. So we click the little folder. Here it is, the Milwaukee Packout foot. Even spins in here, which is fun. So I hit open. And all right, well, there's really, it's an easy mode. You see this big easy mode thing right here. So there's really not that many decisions to make. It asks you if you wanted to do it fast, normal, or high precision. And you really don't need to know anything else. The only thing that I am going to click is this global support. And I click it all the time because if anything is like overhanging, like this thing right here in midair, it will just generate some supports that will snap off once it's all done. That way it makes sure that everything prints correctly. So I always just click that thing and we hit slice. That's it. Slicing it slices it into layers so you can see how like the printer's gonna print it up from the ground. And those yellow things are those breakaway supports I talked about. And it's going to take 28 minutes and 13 seconds. I just hit print, and it wirelessly sends it to my printer over the air, and we're done. That's it. It's literally just going to send it wirelessly to the printer, and the printer is going to start printing. All right, so it just finished. Take it off the plate, put that back. This is a magnetic plate. So it printed it with some of that extra stuff that I talked about, and so that stuff just literally peels right off. It did that to support things that needed support, and I have a Packout cleat. So now I can attach this to anything and click it into the Milwaukee Packout system. It was that easy. We literally picked a file, put it in the program, and hit print. And here it is. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that I printed in the past 2 weeks. On my Craig jig, the hose port is too small, so I printed one with a bigger hose so that I can just plug my hose directly into it with no adapter. It is limitless what you can print for clamps. I mean, every single clamp up on this wall I can print replacement pieces for, like for the pads and stuff, as they get ruined during glue ups and whatnot. I can create the standoffs for them, which is cool. I can make the setup blocks so they can interlock. Wall-mounted battery holds for the 20 volt, 12 volt, Ryobi, 18, M18, M12, and Makita. And they lock in place as well. Over at the bandsaw, I printed an end cap for my rail right here because I keep walking into it, so this will keep from impaling me. I also printed this dust shroud that goes underneath, and it helps to funnel all that sawdust down to where the dust collector is on this machine. How about some French cleat stuff? I have tool holders. I have these, which are for holding filament. Put in some dowels and we can put filament right there. Now this one I love. This is for an enclosure that I'm building, and so this is a air ventilation port. So you can move this back and forth to control how much airflow you allow in. 3-piece filament holder that is for my French cleat system. So I put the filament inside. I have a tightening bolt that goes in, and then it hangs up right on the wall. This Dremel tool storage station that's wall mounted. It holds all the pieces, and the drawers click into place so they don't come all the way out. Wall mounted rod holders. It's made for a 3/4 inch dowel, and then I can wall mount this and then hang things from it. How about an entire drawer organization system where I made custom bins based on what I was putting in it. So I measured each one of the blades that I was putting in, my jigsaw, my hacksaw, my oscillating tool, whatever it was, I made a holder for it that fit it perfectly. Webcam that I use with my laser engraver, and I made an articulating housing for it. By far, my most favorite thing so far that I've printed is this blast gate, and it's different colors. It was like 6 different pieces that I had to print, and then they actually bolt together in places. And this blast gate is a ball on the inside. So as I turn this, the ball spins to either cut off the airflow or release it through. And it's actually really nice looking. I'm really happy with it. It has a mounting plate on the back that you can put onto it. And this is great for a really tight spot, like in an enclosure that I have. I don't have the space for that blast gate to open and close. So just being able to turn this dial makes it really easy. A wall clamp for my Makita charger, because of course Makita does not come with the holes in the back to wall mount it. Printed a push stick for the table saw. There's a million different versions of them on there, and so you can print a whole bunch and play around and see what you fancy. I printed an adapter for each one of my smaller tools that fits with my particular brand of hose, and so it snaps on, and I can keep this with every single one of my tools, so I'm not shuffling around my accessories. Speaking of hoses, I printed this, and this is an adapter for my bandsaw for my dust right hose to hook up to it. It was a little loose, so I wanted something to snug that up, but the cool thing about it, it's flexible. It's made out of a product called TPU, so you just put that spool in the machine and it prints something that's flexible like this, and it feels just like the dust hose material that we use. And so this can be made to use all sorts of hose attachments, hoses themselves, airlines, all sorts of things out of this material, and it's flexible. Very, very cool stuff with so many applications in the shop. I hope you saw a lot of cool things that I made for the shop. I'm addicted to making stuff for this now. I'm constantly on these websites with these millions of free files, and there's so many woodshop things, tool things that are in there. It's amazing. I'm like just searching up my tools, like I'm like, okay, Rikon bandsaw, what do we got? And like, oh, there's 100 things, and I just start scrolling through like, that's really cool, and that's cool. There's so many things that I want to print right now with this machine that it's a cool like add to the shop that I'm really excited about. So let me tell you about my experience and why I'm so excited about this now, and it also kind of plays into why I had to remake this video. This is actually my 3rd 3D printer. I was given one 2 years ago by my wife for Father's Day, and I got really frustrated with it and sent it right back. And that's because most 3D printers are made for tinkerers, for people who want to get in and mess with the code, who want to mod their machine and add different hot ends and nozzles and all sorts of stuff, and a lot of computer-based things, which got frustrating to me. And most 3D printers don't come with their own software. They instruct you to use a third-party thing, and then you have to set a million different parameters to work with the specific machine that you're working with. And if you skip anything, it screws it all up. And that's what happened to me. And it's my fault. It's not the machine's fault, but it wasn't beginner friendly. That's the big key thing here. So then right before this came, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I decided to give it a try again, and I bought one again. Same thing happened. It didn't come with software. It was not user-friendly. I was able to print a couple things, but they did not come out well. I'll show you the comparison later because I reprinted it with this machine, and they look beautiful, and they function. So again, it's probably not that machine. It was me. But the fact that I don't know what I'm doing with these machines, and it's not built for a beginner is the problem. Then we come to this machine. So when they contacted me to do a review on this, I was like, I don't know how this is going to turn out. I might have to give them an I'm sorry and send it back to them. So it came, Ankermake. P.S. Thank you, Ankermake. I'm so happy that you gave this to me. This just came out. They sent it to me, right when it was announced, which was at the beginning of the month. So this is the Ankermake M5C. It's their newest printer. And I installed the software. When I took it out of the box, it's 3 pieces. And in 15 minutes, I was printing stuff, and it worked. And then I was printing more stuff, and it worked. And that's when it just flooded in, because this machine just works for a beginner who doesn't know what they're doing. And that's what this space needs. They need a machine like this so that, you who might be like, that's not for me, because I was that way too. There's a lot of cool stuff that you can make for your woodshop in here for anything. I mean, the laundry list from my wife is long of things she wants, because as soon as we started looking at this site together, so many teacher things on there that my wife's like, oh yeah, you're going to make me this, in a nice way. So there's a long queue of things that need to go on this machine. All right, so let's go back in time now to the original video I shot. I'm going to show you me assembling this for the first time. It's only 3 pieces, so it only takes a minute. And we'll dive into the software and some more capabilities of this machine, because it's a fantastic machine. Now, I want to also point out something before we go there, which is I've used the word beginner a lot, right? But beginner also has the connotation that this is not a high quality, high end machine, and that is wrong. So I want to point that out right now. Before a year ago, most of the 3D printers printed very slow. They printed at around 50 millimeters a second on average, which was like the posted term. Some do more and less, but around there. This is part of the new generation of fast printers that were introduced in the past year. And so this prints at up to 500 millimeters a second, or 10 times what the old slow printers printed at. And this puts this in the very top grouping of all the consumer grade 3D printers. I mean, it's way up there. Now, the other ones that print that fast, so 500 or even a little bit above, they're like $600 to $1,500. This one comes in at below $400. There's a coupon in my description below too, if you're looking at it. So that helps with the price too. The fact that this is on the very affordable end of 3D printers, because 3D printers start at around $200, the fact that this is right down there, but it's giving you the high-end speed, but then the quality is there too. I mean, a friend of mine was over and saw this blast gate I was showing him, and he's like, I can't believe that this isn't store-bought. This looks perfect. And I didn't even print this on precision mode. I printed it on normal mode, and it came out beautiful. I can't say, I don't know why, I just gravitate to this one. But so the word beginner, I'm really using that towards the fact that I don't know much and I can make this machine work and do what I want it to do. But this machine actually is still on the higher end of these machines, which makes it really, really enticing to me. I'm not, getting a beginner kiddie machine that, yeah, it's simple and it works, but it's made for children. No, this is a good grade of machine. It's even fit and finish is great too. Everything's enclosed. When you look at most other 3D printers, it's a lot of the extruded aluminum type of things with belts in the grooves and all sorts of stuff. This has a much more put together look. So let's dive into the assembly of this and the software. That took 8 minutes, super easy. It's practically already assembled. It's just 3 pieces. So very simple, but it does have very nice color diagrams. I like that. And it even has a nice case for its tools. You know, usually you get the little baggie of cheapo tools. This is actually pretty well presented, and it was packed very, very nicely as well. So good job on that. Now, the next thing we would need to do is install the software and get this turned on so it's ready to work. And so what we're going to do for that is download the Ankermake app on your cell phone. And then as soon as you open that up, it's going to ask you for a QR code, and that is back here on the back of the printer. Here in the iPhone app, it gives us the status of the machine. If I was printing something, it would show a countdown clock for how long is left for the print to finish. And then it actually text messages me when it's all finished. So that's nice. You always know when it's done. This controls the print head, how hot it is, the bed. It allows you to install new filament by extruding it, like pulling it through, and also retracting will unwind this filament, the filament from the machine, and that way you can take it off and put a new spool on. You can move the print head around with these directional buttons, and you can level the machine. So very easy. You can also click the print button at the bottom, and if you have any files on a USB stick attached to the printer, you can select from them and just print remotely from your phone right here. The Explore button at the bottom takes you to the Make It Real board, where Ankermake posts free files that you can print directly from your phone. Let's click on this trowel and print. It sends it right to the printer, no slicing, and we have a cool little gardening trowel. One thing I wanted to show too is if I go back to the devices page and I click my printer at the top, and then I hit the little settings button, I can control Wi-Fi, I can share this to somebody else, and there's a really cool feature on this device. There's a really big button that they have, and that's because this machine, they didn't include a touch screen. Everything's controlled by the phone, which I personally love way more than having a really bad touch screen that really doesn't register your fingers like a lot of these other ones do. And so there's this big button here, and this allows you to select some different things. So if you single tap, it'll do this, double tap, it'll do that. So you can program that button to act however you would like for it to act. Let's take a look at the computer-based Ankermake program, not the phone-based one. It works on Mac and PC. So when we open it up, we go to the slicer, and the slicer is what gets the file ready for the printer. And so I'll just open up a file, this little dragon guy. And there he is. I don't have to do anything. The only real big thing I have to check is what material am I printing with? So what plastic did I put on this machine right now? And this is currently set to PLA. And PLA is what you should use as a beginner. It's the easiest thing, it's the most common thing, it's the cheapest thing. So use PLA. But you can click it, and there's all these other ones in here too. The cool thing about this software is made for this printer. So it knows what settings to change when I change it to TPU, when I change it to ABS, because each of these materials have different melting points and you know, how hot the bed should be and all sorts of other stuff that it controls automatically without me having to put it in. So as easy as could be. And then really I just pick, do I want it to print fast, normal, or precision? And the difference, when you mouse over this, it shows, you know, you sacrifice a little detail for speed, or you just sacrifice some speed for detail. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. Yeah, so usually I go in here and I just check those two things, and then I might also click the global support. Um, Files usually actually come with instructions, and so the person who created this will tell you if you need to put supports on it or not. I click global support a lot because the software just knows for you. It does it for you. When I click that, it'll put it, and it'll put it where it needs it, which is great. And I've actually had really great experience with this one because all of the supports have been super soft and easy to remove. They're making a certain design that's just easy to rip off. Whereas the other printer software that I used, it was really rigid and hard where I had to use pliers to rip it off, and that would sometimes damage the print too, so that was no good. There's also a few things over here, so if you click it, you can move it, scale it, rotate it, or mirror it, just in case you need to, but a lot of the time, right where it's sitting is good to go. So whenever you hit slice, the computer's just basically taking a Ginsu knife and going back and forth like an awesome samurai and splitting it up into layers, because the printer will just start at the bottom here and it will just add layer by layer by layer. So it's figuring out each one of those slices where it's going to go, and it'll finish. So this print would only take us 32 minutes. That's very fast. So you can also see that the yellow is that support stuff that it added in. You can unclick it over here just to see what it looks like without it. So it added all this support stuff just to ensure that the print's going to be nice and that there's not going to be any issues. This one doesn't need supports, and this is actually something that I'm going to print right now because this is a test to see how precise your printer is. A lot of people use this file to see if you can see the lines in the print, if there's any issues, if there's any, when it goes back and forth between the horns here, sometimes there might be like spider web looking stuff that goes back and forth. So I'm interested to print this and see how precise this printer actually is. So I just printed this little test guy. You can tell by, this is my thumb, he's just a little bit bigger than my thumb. So it's very small, but look at how much detail it has. Let's just get rid of that off of there. And there's no lines that I can see at all. It looks like it was like dipped, cast molded or something, not printed layer by layer by layer. So that is really, really cool. There's nothing that goes between his horns because like the printer jumps back and forth, and so sometimes like with a hot glue gun, you know how it gets that stringing. 3D printers can get that stringing to happen, and I don't see that here. It's completely clean. So that means that this is a really quality print. So like I said earlier, while this is very focused software-wise on a beginner, the capabilities of this printer are way up there at the very top, yet the price is way down there in the bottom part of the brackets. So this, to me, is a fantastic printer. Let's take a look at another example. This was printed on that printer that I had 2 weeks before this printer arrived, the M5C. And in the software that I used, there really wasn't like a fast or a slow or whatever. You had to put in all the parameters and things. And so I'm going to say that this is all my fault. It's totally not the printer's fault, but it's also because the software's not beginner friendly. And so this print came with all sorts of stringing everywhere. So when you look at this thing, there is just random strings all over the place. On this side, on this side. If I take this apart, we look on the inside, it's very like, you see all these lines and stuff. It's not a smooth, nicely printed item. In addition, the bolt that goes in here completely just got stuck and ripped apart into pieces on this one. So the threads were not printed well, and so it kind of ripped apart. This line in the back, just so I address it, I cut it with a bandsaw because it had a block here and it didn't work with my French cleats. So that's not the fault of the printer. Just want to make sure you knew that. So when I got the new printer, I printed it again. And so let's take a look first at the quality of this print. There's no lines anywhere. It is just a smooth, solid surface all over the place. This was printed in normal, not in precision either. It was just normal print. And it looks super nice. And then the bolt actually works. So I can screw it all the way in and it'll pop out the other side and it tightens the whole thing up. So, wow, you know, this is a really, really nice print. So again, I have to say, I'm sure it's me. I'm absolutely sure it's me because this other printer, and I'm not naming them because it's my fault, I'm sure. I'm sure it's my fault, but it's because I don't know how to use that software and all these parameters and all sorts of stuff that you had to set. Whereas the software that comes with this Ankermake M5C is so simple to use that I'm getting excellent results without knowing what I'm doing. And as self-defaming as that sounds all the time, and I keep saying it, I'm just trying to drive it home that the printer's doing all the work and the software is doing all the work and it's producing great stuff. So if you're a beginner and you've never used this stuff, you don't have to worry. The software is going to take care of you. On the desktop, we can also use the Make It Real board by going to makeireal.ankermake.com. Here is a cool Gong Fu dragon that I could print for my kids. I just click download and then throw it into the Ankermake software. Let's go ahead and print this in precision mode so it has as much detail as possible. This has all these scales and stuff. I want to see how detailed we can get. So Ankermake provided me with a 0.2 millimeter nozzle. And so that's just where the plastic comes out, the filament comes out of the machine. And so you just unscrew it and put this smaller nozzle on. So it's going to be squirting a much thinner line. And I'm going to move it to precision mode. And I'm even going to change the layer height, which means how much filament comes out at one time. So I'm going to say really, really small. This way, it's making really, really little lines, and it should make a really detailed model. I scaled this down to 25% of its usual size because I wanted to see if we print it super teeny tiny, if precision mode would be able to do it. And this is the front of a pencil. So this is super teeny tiny, but yet you can see how he has 3 of his spikes all the way around. You can even look at his little itty bitty feet with his 3 toes, 3 toes, 3 toes, 3 toes. That is nutty. And there's lots of detail. It's even hard for me to get on the camera. You can see his eyes, his mouth, that whole jaw should articulate once I peel it off. You can see he has these spiked fans coming up and all the way down his back. So that's amazing at the level of detail this was able to accomplish. So this thing is so tiny and delicate, but check it out. It moves. The arms move. They articulate. Even at this super, super small size, it was able to print this form together where it stays together, it can move. To end this video, I needed to reiterate one thing, and that was that this Ankermake sponsored this video. The Ankermake M5C, they sent it to me in return for me making this video. And then I junked that video and remade it again where I'm gushing praise on this thing the entire time and telling you how easy it is. And that's because it's how I honestly feel. It's not because this is a sponsored video, and I have to reiterate that to you that I'm so excited they sent this to me. I have to say a huge thank you to Ankermake because I own this thing now. I'm so happy to own this thing and to play with it nonstop because this has made 3D printing for me. This is the 3rd 3D printer I've had, and the other 2 have gone right back in frustration, but not this one because of the way that they bundled the easy-to-use software preloaded with all the settings for this machine, so there's nothing to do. It's literally download file, slice it, print it. Done. My wife is a really intelligent person. She's not super techie, and so I showed her one of the websites, and I was like, hey, go through here, see if there's anything cool for your classroom that you want. And she's picking out all these things, and she's like, could you make these for me? And I was like, well, here, come here, let me just show you real quick. Just put the file here, hit slice, and print. And she's like, that's it? That's it, honey. And so she's super excited to use this now too. There's so many things that she can make for school that she's excited for. There's some like math combo things that the kids will play with, and they'll be excited to play with these things. So there's value in all sorts of places, in the wood shop, in work, for my kids. It's an awesome machine. So if you've ever thought about it, or even if you've been like, nah, 3D printers aren't for me, but this has kind of piqued your interest, try it out. There's a promo code down below, so it saves you some money, and you can always return it. You know, our commerce world is easy that way, but I don't think you will. I think you're going to enjoy this thing because it's so easy. There's not going to be that roadblock for people to get to use this thing. So I highly recommend it. And again, thank you so much, Ankermake, for sending this out to me. I highly enjoyed it. I'm going to make a video later in the week. I'm going to make an enclosure for it so that I can keep all the dust off of it from here in the wood shop. Soundproofing. Going to put some ventilation in and stuff, so stay tuned for that video too. I hope you like and subscribe to the video. I try to put out all the honest, best content I can. And as always, stay safe in the shop. I will see you in the next video.